Once upon a time, in a vast and prosperous kingdom, surrounded by lush green forests and sparkling rivers, there lived a wise and beloved king. He ruled not just with power, but with compassion and curiosity. This king had a deep love for learning and often visited neighboring kingdoms, not for conquest, but to understand their people, cultures, and knowledge. On one such journey, after months of travel, the king arrived in a distant tropical land where the air smelled of orchids and the trees whispered stories in the wind. The ruler of this land, an old friend, welcomed him warmly and gave him a unique gift: a pair of young macaw parrots, vibrant, intelligent, and rare. Their feathers shimmered in hues of emerald, sapphire, and gold. The parrots were not only beautiful, but also symbolic. They represented freedom, color, and joy. The king was delighted. He'd never seen birds so magnificent. He promised his friend he would take great care of them. Upon returning to his palace, nestled in the heart of his capital city, the king summoned his best bird trainers. "These are no ordinary birds," he told them. "Train them to fly high and strong. I want them to soar over our gardens, symbols of the beauty and potential of our kingdom." A grand enclosure was built in the palace gardens, filled with fruit-bearing trees, waterfalls, and open skies. The birds were given the best care, finest food, and the most experienced trainers. Days turned into weeks. One day, the royal bird trainer entered the court with a troubled look. "Your Majesty," he said, bowing deeply, "one of the macaw parrots is flying gloriously. It sweeps across the skies every morning. But the other, he hasn't moved from his branch since the day he arrived. He just sits there, watching." The king was perplexed. "Is he sick?" "No, Your Majesty. He eats, he sleeps, but he does not fly." Determined to solve the problem, the king called healers, animal psychologists, monks, and mystics from far and wide. Each one tried their wisdom and method, but the parrot remained glued to his branch. Some played music, others offered exotic fruits, and still others tried to scare him into flight. But the bird wouldn't budge. The king even tried speaking to the parrot himself from afar. "Dear bird," he said from his balcony, "you were born to fly. The skies await you. Why do you stay stuck to that single branch?" But the parrot only tilted its head, silent and still. Word of the stubborn bird spread across the kingdom. Some said it was cursed. Others believed it was protecting something invisible. Days turned into months. The king began to feel helpless and a bit embarrassed. How could a mighty ruler with all his knowledge and resources not solve a problem this small? Then one day, an old courtier came forward and gently said, "Your Majesty, perhaps you need someone who thinks differently. Someone who understands nature not with books, but with life. May I suggest a farmer?" The king hesitated. A farmer? Not a sage, not a healer, but a simple man of the soil. Still, he had tried everything else. "Bring him," he said. The next morning, before the sun had even fully risen, the farmer arrived. He was humble, dressed plainly, and smelled faintly of earth and rain. Without any ceremony, he was taken to the garden. The next morning, the king awoke to a marvelous sight. Both parrots flying high together, their wings slicing through the morning mist, their cries echoing through the gardens. He immediately summoned the farmer. "How did you do it?" the king asked, astounded. The farmer bowed deeply. "It was simple, Your Majesty. I just cut the branch. At first, nothing." Then the parrot flapped, startled. It looked down, panicked. With nowhere else to sit, it instinctively opened its wings and flew. The king looked confused. "Just that?" "Yes," the farmer replied. The bird had grown used to the branch. It was comfortable, safe. It didn't want to risk the unknown, even though it had wings made for flight. Sometimes, Comfort is the cage we build for ourselves. The moment we remove what holds us back, fear, doubt, familiarity, we discover our true strength. The court fell silent. The farmer's words were simple, but they carried the weight of a lifetime's wisdom. The king smiled, deeply moved. "You have taught me more than all my scholars ever could." Moral of the story is, we are all born with wings, dreams, talents, and strength. But often, we sit still, frozen on the branches of comfort, afraid to leap. We wait for the perfect moment, the right opportunity, or a sign from the universe. But what if that never comes? Just like the parrot, sometimes we need to cut the branch ourselves, or allow life to do it for us. Success, growth, and freedom lie just beyond our comfort zones. To truly fly, we must let go of what feels safe and embrace what feels possible. This story reminds us, don't let fear hold you back. You were born to soar,